Welcome to this podcast from the Human Capital Institute's webcast, Marshall Goldsmith on Mojo and Successfully Leading Global Teams. This program was underwritten by Global English. This webcast featured Dr. Marshall Goldsmith and Sheila Madden, Senior Vice President of Global Talent Management at Global English. Research shows that engagement is a driver for companies all over the world to achieve improved global workforce productivity. Many companies, however, are behind in helping their leaders develop competencies that encourage engaged, effective employees. Marshall Goldsmith, renowned executive coach, along with Sheila Madden, examine the relationship between an individual leader's level of meaning and purpose and their ability to successfully engage their global teams to meet business challenges. Learn how to assess your leadership mojo and leave with actionable strategies that can be applied across cultures and geographies to affect behavioral change, increase engagement, and boost the mojo and productivity of your global teams.
At the first two bullets that according to the UN, 70% of growth in multinationals will come from emerging markets, and that the World Trade Organization is estimating that 70% of global 1,000 workforce members will be non-native English speakers. Marshall, what do you see as the significance in these changes?
Well, I think one thing that we have talked about is the importance of being able to speak, as you say, global English. Because a common language, even though you have multiple cultures, a common language is critically important so people can understand each other and communicate. Also, learning to use new technology to communicate over time. And the 5 factors that we came up with in our research, most important qualities of the leader of the future. Number 1 was global thinking. Number 2 is related to what this slide talks about, the appreciation of cross-cultural diversity, realizing that we are dealing with people in different languages, cultures, religions. Number 3, technological savvy, which you also mentioned. Then number 4 was something called shared leadership. Rather than the leader, Peter Drucker said the leader of the past knew how to tell. The leader of the future is going to know how to ask. And it involved, people want meaning and purpose, as you say, and this is sharing leadership so that they are part of this process. And then finally, another one that's connected to your bullet is building alliances and partnerships.
Renowned organizations that have studied it. It doesn't seem that there's any question that it's important and that it's necessary. And Marshall, you and I have talked about engagement and how it relates to the topic of your new book, Mojo, how to get it, how to keep it, and how to get it back if you lose it. Let's start to talk about that connection. But first, can you define Mojo for us?
Mojo can be defined as that positive spirit toward what you are doing now that starts from the inside and radiates to the outside. Well, the Mojo paradox, our default reaction in life is not to experience happiness. Our default reaction in life is not to experience meaning. Our default reaction in life is to experience inertia. We all tend to go where we've been going, do what we've been doing, and say what we've been saying. And, it takes a lot of discipline to stop as we go through the day, hour after hour, meeting after meeting, recalibrate, break this incredibly powerful pull of inertia, and start over. And as you become higher and higher in the organization, this does not become less important.
And if we look at this as the root cause, I'm thinking back to the book where you talk about something called the Mojo paradox. And can you tell us about that and how you think that it's preventing leaders from engaging people?
Well, the Mojo paradox, our default reaction in life is not to experience happiness. Our default reaction in life is not to experience meaning. Our default reaction in life is to experience inertia. We all tend to go where we've been going, do what we've been doing, and say what we've been saying. And, it takes a lot of discipline to stop as we go through the day, hour after hour, meeting after meeting, recalibrate, break this incredibly powerful pull of inertia, and start over. And as you become higher and higher in the organization, this does not become less important. This becomes more and more important. It doesn't mean this activity is doing anything for us. Personal mojo is what the activity brings to me. Does this activity make me happy? Do I find it to be rewarding? Is it meaningful? Am I learning something when I do this, and am I grateful for the opportunity to do it? if we live a life that's high on personal mojo, but low on professional mojo, we might be kind of a dilettante. You know, it might be sort of fun, meaningful for us, but we're not doing much to make a difference in the world, and we're not achieving very much. On the other hand, if we get high personal mojo and high professional mojo and low personal mojo, we might be doing a good job at our work, but be miserable and meaningless in our lives. So I think very important in the new world, since work has become more important, to look at both. Well, you know, first is, like you said, you go first in your ability to engage. And I think the Mojo Scorecard is a great tool to help you. I'm going to share one other tool we haven't talked about yet. It's called the daily questions process. I have a peer coach, Jim Moore. We go through a series of questions every day. He asks me the same questions. Every question, yes, no, or a number, I ask him questions. It is amazing how well this process helps keep me in focus. It takes only 3 to 4 minutes a day, and the questions are related to what we discussed. First question, on a 1 to 10 scale, how happy were you yesterday? 1 to 10 scale, how meaningful was yesterday? How many minutes did I write? And then questions about health. How many push-ups did I do? How many sit-ups? How much do I weigh? Questions about diet. Questions about relationships. Did I say or do something nice to my wife, for my son, for my daughter? A lot of basic questions, and my partner would tell you this process saved his life. One question I ask him every day in our daily question process is, are you currently updated on your physical exam? He said no 90 days in a row. Finally said, this is ridiculous. I have to get the exam or quit asking. He got the exam. The doctor said, you have cancer. He's going to be fine. Doctor also said, you waited 7 more months, you would have been dead. Well, why do we need these tools? Not because we're stupid, it's because we're busy. By the way, if you want to send me an email, marshall@marshallgoldsmith.com, I'll send you what my questions look like in an article describing the process. But I find it's very useful, back to that action phase, to get out of the theory. And the more we can provide structure and direction in our lives, like the Mojo Scorecard or this daily question process, the more likely we are to do this stuff, not just understand the theory.